In today's video, I'm going to talk about how emotional trauma can be involved in digestive issues by sharing a little bit about my personal story, so stay tuned. Hi there, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Amanda Malacheski. I'm a functional nutrition practitioner and a digestive and allergy detective. I help people figure out which foods are right for them and how to stop aggravating your symptoms. If you'd like to continue to hear more from me every week, go ahead and click the subscribe button and also click the bell to be notified when I release a new video each week. So it's no mystery that trauma and intense emotional events can have a direct impact and effect on our physical health. And so today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, about my background, and share what I've been doing lately to address my digestive issues using some trauma-informed therapy work. Some of this is brand new for me, and it's been really interesting to explore what's going on under the surface in my emotional body, and I think you're going to be kind of fascinated to hear about what I've uncovered. Let's get started on that. I do first want to acknowledge before I start telling my story that everybody's experience with trauma is totally unique, and I'm in no way suggesting that physical illnesses that you may be experiencing and having trouble maybe getting diagnosed are not real or that they're all in your head. Quite the contrary, what I'm suggesting is that sometimes emotional wounds really do manifest as physical illnesses, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't work on the physical illnesses at all. I'm just suggesting that we may need to understand the emotional underground to get at what might really help us feel better. So those of you that have been watching my channel for a little while may know that I have had some ongoing digestive problems for about 6 years or so now. I have what's commonly known probably as IBS, and it's sort of the constipation variety. And I also have a lot of food sensitivities and ongoing pain issues with certain foods. So if I eat certain foods, I get these extreme pain reactions. And I've done a lot of investigation and work on it. And, I mostly keep my symptoms under control. However, I still continue to have symptoms sometimes, and I still have a kind of limited plate. I have to eliminate several foods that I haven't been able to add back in. A lot of really common foods, and this includes things like gluten and dairy, eggs, beef, pork, and chocolate are kind of the main foods that I don't have in my diet and I can't have in them. So recently, as part of my ongoing treatment process, I have sought the services of a psychotherapist who specializes in a technique called EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And basically, it's a technique that utilizes bilateral brain stimulation using either little buzzers that you hold in your hands or sounds in the ears, or sometimes a light bar where lights move back and forth. And this guided technique helps you access memories of traumatic events, and with the help of the therapist, you're able to sort of work through some of those traumatic events. So I have some pretty significant trauma in my early life. Both of my parents died in a small plane accident when I was 9 years old, and then I went to live with relatives who kind of are reminiscent of the Dursleys in the Harry Potter series. And if you haven't read or seen the Harry Potter movies, you could also use the Cinderella story as a kind of analog to fill in for that. Not only did I lose my parents, but I also went to live with caregivers who weren't very caring and weren't very supportive of me and my emotional development, or really supportive in most ways. And so I have a lot of emotional wounds from this experience. And it's only come to light recently how drastically this really affects me in my day-to-day life. And my intention with the work is to try and get underneath these things and clear them out so that I can feel happier and feel more present in my marriage and these sorts of things. So it was a surprise to me when I was working with my therapist on some memories, and she asked me the question, and this is a question commonly asked in EMDR sessions: what do you believe about yourself in this situation? And as I was experiencing the bilateral stimulation of my brain, an image came to my mind, which I wasn't previously aware that I held in myself. But in the image, I could see my body with a giant cannonball-sized hole through the center, through my center, like through my solar plexus and my gut area. And then that once that cannonball had gone through, had blasted through the core of my body, that everything else remaining collapsed down into my pelvis, sort of like a crater where a building collapsed. Imagine like the World Trade Center falling. And I was really surprised to see this image. I was not aware that I held this image in my inner mind. And clearly, when I think about it in a rational way, if that's really how I see the inside of my body, how could I possibly heal my digestive system? If that whole system has essentially been ripped in pieces and blown apart to shreds, and if the debris collapsed into the rest of my body. And as I've sat with that image and spent time with it, I've started to realize that, interestingly, when I think about this area of my body, I almost can't feel it. It's almost like it's not there. It's almost like I'm walking around with this big, giant hole in the middle of myself. And it's been really interesting to consider how that may affect my physical health. So this is all kind of new for me, and I'm not really sure how this is going to impact my physical health in the long run, but I can only think that it's for the better, and that as I continue to work with these images and memories and feelings that are lodged in my physical body, that it's going to encourage and help my physical healing process. Over the summer, I read a really amazing book about this topic of trauma called The Body Keeps the Score. It's a book written by a mental health MD. His name is Bessel Kolk, and you can easily find that book over on Amazon. I'll leave a link for that below. He makes a very compelling argument through case studies and his personal research and his career working with traumatized people that the body stores these memories, and it stores the trauma, it stores the feelings, and can definitely create not only mental health pictures, but also physical health problems. In The Body Keeps the Score, Kolk talks a little bit about the adverse childhood experiences research that's been done, that's ACEs for short. The idea is that there's a questionnaire of 10 short questions about childhood trauma. And if you have even 2 or 3 adverse childhood experiences or ACEs, you are significantly more likely to have not only mental health problems, but physical health problems from all diseases, and especially chronic health conditions like autoimmune disease, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and so on. I've only been doing this work with my new therapist for about a month, but I will say that it's encouraging me. I feel really encouraged. I feel like I've been carrying this trauma and these horrible feelings about what happened in my early life around, and that it's colored my entire view of the world and all of my experiences. And doing this work is helping me make peace with that. So for certain, everyone's process with their own illness and their quest for healing and finding answers is going to be unique and different, and you're no different than that. I would never claim that I know what's going to heal you, but if you are someone who has been experiencing ongoing digestive challenges in spite of a tremendous amount of attention, investigation, treatment, and whatnot, and you also have some kind of trauma event in your past, whether that's the loss of a loved one or parent or friend or family member that was important to you, whether you have experienced some kind of sexual or physical abuse, whether you have had a parent who was abusive or alcoholic or used drugs, and any manner of any other significantly traumatic event that you feel really left a huge emotional impact on you, I encourage you to look into ways to get into those emotions and see if you can access them and work on resolving them with a trained professional. So a couple of different options are people trained in EMDR, like I mentioned, and I've been using. Also, practitioners trained in emotional freedom technique, which is a tapping technique that also works on reconnecting the two halves of the brain. And a third possibility is to work with a somatic therapist. So these are psychotherapists who help you connect with the physical sensations in your body that are connected with your emotional experiences. If you've tried EMDR or another similar method of therapy to help resolve your trauma, I'd like to hear about what your experience has been with that and how it's been helpful for you. And maybe you could share that in a comment so other people could benefit from that. So go ahead and do that below. Certainly looking into your background of trauma and how it may be connected to your digestive challenges is one piece of a much larger puzzle. And like I said in the beginning, even though you may have these emotional connections, that doesn't mean there isn't a physical issue that needs to be dealt with and investigated. So if you are someone who is needing some support and help with the more physical aspects of your digestive issues, such as figuring out the foods that may be okay for you to eat that aren't going to trigger your symptoms, some of the lifestyle habits that are going to support your healing process, and looking into testing to try and understand what kinds of infections or other issues are going on under the surface, I really want to encourage you to make an appointment with me for a 30-minute assessment session. I would love to meet with you and speak with you about that. You can schedule your free 30-minute assessment session by visiting confluencenutrition.com/contact and filling out the brief intake form and scheduling time on my schedule. Or you can also grab your free copy of the Roadmap to Gut Recovery. This is my premier freebie, which allows you to get started on your own, working through the steps that I use with my clients to help them recover their gut function and their gut health. So you can grab that by visiting confluencenutrition.com/roadmap. Thanks so much for watching and being willing to hear my story about my process and my experience. And I hope that it's helped you feel like there's possibility to make headway with your issues. If you liked this video, I encourage you to like and comment below, and also share it with someone who you feel might benefit from hearing this message. And also let me know if you have any questions you'd like me to answer in future videos. So I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you next time.